All people are born unique. With perhaps the exceptions of twins, each of us are individuals quite different from one another. However, there are some people born with characteristics so unique you would think that they came straight out of a storybook. Today we're going to look at 10 people you won't believe actually exist. Better stay tuned for number 1, as I bet you thought that this man was just a character in a fictional movie. Number 10. The Ulis Family. Some people walk on all fours for fun or for sport, but not for long stretches and certainly not for ease of mobility. Yet 5 siblings in a family of 19 in Hatay, Turkey walked not just primarily but only on all fours and lacked the balance to do otherwise. Since the siblings were first discovered by scientists in 2005, one popular explanation of their unusual quadrupedal gait was reverse evolution, meaning they could be living proof that we can essentially devolve. The 5 siblings are 4 sisters, Safai, Haser, Sanem, and Amin, and their brother Hussein. All of them can't walk upright and have to move around on all fours doing a form of locomotion called bear crawling. Although the 5 can't stand upright, they can only do it for short periods of time. The reverse evolution theory that is said to be the cause of the siblings' unique condition has been put into question lately, as scientists are currently looking in for other explanations for their conditions. Recent studies have shown that their condition might be genetic in nature. Number 9. Rudy Santos. Rudy Santos was born with Craniopagus parasiticus, or more popularly known as a parasitic twin, one of the world's rarest medical conditions. As the name suggests, this condition happens when conjoined twins are not fully separated in the womb. In the case of Rudy, his undeveloped twin came in the form of additional appendages and body parts. Apart from 2 extra arms and a deformed right leg, Rudy Santos also has additional shoulders, nipples, and undeveloped head attached to his sternum. This head is notable for having its own ears and a hairy scalp. Parasitic twins are so rare of a condition that Rudy Santos is now officially the oldest man in history to ever live with such a deformity. Due to his bizarre case, Rudy captivated many curious onlookers during the 70s and the late 80s. He was the main attraction at traveling fairs and was aptly named Octoman to attract more audiences. Rudy was a national celebrity in his home country of the Philippines back then, earning at least $300 every single night. Now retired, doctors have offered to remove Rudy's twin for him, but Rudy declined, saying that he has grown too attached to his twin, both literally and figuratively. Number 8. Dede Kawara. Dede Kawara is a fisherman from Indonesia, but he is known all over the world. At some point during his youth, he scraped his knee, and so began his lifelong struggles as the world's most famous tree man. After his unfortunate accident, his body became covered with abnormal growths that were especially prominent on his hands and feet. Because of the root-like growths on his extremities and the bark-like patches on the rest of his skin, his condition caused him to become known as Tree Man. His body is incapable of stopping the development of the growths, so they become larger with time. Dede suffers from a rare disease known simply as epidermodysplasia vericonformis, also known as Lewandowski-Lutz dysplasia. This disease is a hereditary autosomal recessive skin disorder. As a result of the disease, Dede has a heightened susceptibility to human papillomaviruses, also known as HPV, and I'm pretty sure I just butchered that name, but let's just keep rolling anyway. These conditions are very easy for the common person to contract. It has been said that up to 80% of people may be infected with the virus without showing symptoms. For over 20 years, Dede's case has confused and intrigued doctors and scientists, but no one has been able to completely cure it yet. Although he underwent multiple operations to remove the warts, they always grew back again. Number 7. Dede Montalvo. Dede Montalvo had a mole that grew so big that by the age of 6 it covered his entire back like a turtle shell, earning him the nickname of Turtle Boy. This rare birthmark, congenital melanotic nevus, affects around 1 in 20,000 newborn babies, but a top surgeon described Dede Montalvo's condition as the worst he had ever seen. Dede's life was severely affected by the growth, covering more than half of his body circumference, both in the painful itchiness of his skin and how it affected his confidence. He and his family were shunned by villagers in his home in rural Colombia in South America, and his mother Luz was even told it was her fault for looking at a solar eclipse while pregnant. The family were unfortunately too poor to shell out for surgery, but his life changed when his touching story was featured in a local newspaper and a flood of donations poured in. While they could now afford the operation, the life-changing surgery was still by no means straightforward. In fact, it would be painful, dangerous, and complicated. Fortunately, the surgery was successful, and the former turtle boy is now living a normal life. Number 6. Manam Age. Manam Age was an Egyptian girl who was born with her twin Islam attached to her head, a condition known as craniopagus parasiticus, or another parasitic twin. Islam was basically nothing but a head and upper torso, but was able to smile and blink on her own. Still, doctors determined that she had to be removed in order to give Manam Age a chance at a normal life. In February of 2005, when she was 10 months old, Manam Age underwent an operation to remove the parasitic head in a hospital in Bana, 25 miles of Cairo in Egypt. The operation was successful. At least for the time being, Manam Age became the first baby to survive the surgical removal of a parasitic head. However, due to persistent infection in her own brain, she only lived for an additional 13 months and died on March 25, 2006, only a few days short of her second birthday. As for the parasitic twin Islam, after her removal from Manam Age, she died on the operation table. However, she was buried according to tradition like a normal person by her family. Number 5. Minh. He grew up in an orphanage in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Even among the many orphans with conditions like spina bifida and developmental disorders, Minh always stood out from the group. He suffers from a genetic skin disease called ichthyosis. The disease leaves massive dry, scaly, dead skin all over Minh's body, which earned him the nickname Ka, which means fish in Vietnamese. The condition is painfully itchy, and orphanage workers were actually forced to tie down Minh's hands to keep him from scratching. This is the sad state that Minh was living in when he happened to meet Brenda Smith, a British woman who was visiting the country as part of a charity bike trip. Brenda and her husband Boz spent time meeting orphans, including Minh, and they were touched by their stories. Sadly, just a year after their visit to the orphanage, Brenda's husband died. To honor his life, Brenda devoted herself to looking after Vietnam's orphans. Since then, Brenda has been visiting Minh once a year, and she has been visiting him and the other orphans for more than 15 years now. Number 4. Paul Karason. Paul Karason is a person that is very easy to pick out in a crowd because of his unique look. His skin is blue. In 2008, Paul Karason appeared on national television to reveal his unordinary skin to the world. Prior to his TV debut, Paul had been living as a recluse, limiting his time in public as much as possible. Paul grew up with red hair and fair skin. During his middle-aged years, he came down with a serious case of dermatitis and flaky skin on his face. Then one day, he saw an ad for an old wives' remedy and decided to give it a try. The ad was for a concoction called colloidal silver, a once popular cold and flu remedy used in the early 20th century up until the 1950s. The solution, made up of tiny silver particles, promised to be a cure-all. Paul then started drinking 10 ounces of his own home-brewed serum every single day, and he did so for over a decade. The good news is his dermatitis cleared up. Thing is, his skin is now permanently blue. Number 3. Mandy Sellars. Mandy Sellars is your typical 36-year-old woman. She loves to go to the movies, hang out with her friends, and to go out to lunch. But there is just one thing that sets Sellars apart. She suffers from a rare condition that has caused her legs to grow at an alarming rate. It was believed that she was suffering from a rare genetic disorder called Proteus syndrome, but that has since been disproved. In fact, recent testing has revealed that her condition is the first of its kind in the world. Hence, it remains nameless. The condition makes it incredibly difficult for Mandy to move around, and she is housebound during the week. She travels in a specially reinforced wheelchair. She even had her massive left leg amputated after it became infected with septicemia, but the stump soon started growing again, and within 3 years measured a meter in circumference. She is currently undergoing an experimental treatment, and it has seen some promising results. Her legs have now started to shrink. Let's just all hope that she continues to recover and start living a normal life as soon as possible. Now it's time for the day's best pick. One is that of a man with a huge grotesque growth on his face, and the other quite possibly is the most gorgeous conjoined twins ever. Number 2. The man without a face and twin models. Today's photo took me a while to research, so let's just get right to it. Starting with the photo on the right. On it you will see a unique set of conjoined twins. There have been thousands of cases of conjoined twins reported throughout history, and I personally went through all of them. In the end, I couldn't find anything to prove the existence of these two lovely young women, so unfortunately I would have to conclude that this photo was manipulated. On the one to the left, which shows a man with a huge tumor on his face, he in fact does exist, and has been featured in quite a few documentaries already. His name is Jose Mester, more popularly known as the man with no face. What you are seeing on his face is an 11-pound tumor, which was successfully removed in 2010.
I saved the best for last, but first, I have a quick challenge that takes only 5 seconds to complete. If you can leave a like and subscribe within the next 5 seconds, you'll get 10 years of amazing luck. Just try it, it really works.
Number 1. Joseph Merrick. Born in 1862, Joseph Merrick began growing disfiguring tumors before the age of 2, and his conditions rapidly worsened, rendering one of his arms completely immobile. Increasing health problems eventually made it impossible for Merrick to continue his working life, and poverty forced him to enter the Leicester Union Workhouse. Desperate to find a way out of such grim conditions, Merrick contacted the owner of a Leicester music hall in 1884. Together they established a successful act called The Elephant Man, half a man and half an elephant, in which Merrick displayed his increasingly misshapen body. Merrick is thought to have suffered from a rare genetic disease called Proteus syndrome, wherein the sufferer's bones continue to grow and misshapen without control. Merrick himself followed an old folk belief, stating that his appearance was due to his mother being frightened by an elephant during pregnancy. Which amazing individual would you want to meet in person? Let us know in the comments section down below. Want more videos about unique and amazing people? Click on any of the videos you see on the screen. As always, thanks for watching everybody, and we will talk to you all next time.